You, out of my seat. Don't just stand there, move. I paid for 1A, not you. Back off before I make a scene. Do you fish and hear me?
8:05 a.m. Gate B17. First class is full, but row 1 freezes. A blonde passenger is in 1, a chin up, premium only. The black CEO shows her paper boarding pass, say 1A calm, steady. No problem, she says. Log everything. Phones rise. A teen in 2C whispers, just check the manifest. The purser hesitates. The seated passenger smirks. One quiet call from the CEO. Intercom chimes twice. A crew iPad lights up, owner access pending. 60 seconds from now, we'll know who actually controls this cabin and why abusing policy is about to cost someone their credentials. 8:05 a.m. Gate B17. The cabin has that pre-flight quiet where people pretend not to listen. First class is settled, except for row 1, seat 1A is occupied. A woman in designer shades leans back like the seat came with her name. She lifts a hand at the aisle, palm out. Premium only, she says. The black CEO arrives with a compact carry-on and a paper boarding pass. No entourage, no fuss. She reads the seat number once, then looks at the plate on the headrest. 1A. She sets the boarding pass on the armrest so everyone can see it. Her voice is level. That is my seat! The seated passenger smiles without moving. I was here first. Policy says premium passengers only. Phones stir like birds. A teenager in 2C unlocks his camera app. A frequent flyer in 1D half turns and clears his throat. The junior flight attendant, name tag Marcus, steps forward and glances at the manifest on his tablet. His thumb hovers. He looks to the purser for permission to speak. The purser arrives with a practiced smile that does not reach her eyes. Ma'am, we can relocate you to a comfortable aisle in the forward cabin, she says to the CEO. We are on a tight push time. If you could cooperate... The CEO studies the purser, not the passenger in her seat. She does not raise her voice. Log everything. Name, time, and reason for relocation request. Add it to the flight record. That lands. Marcus blinks. The purser's smile holds for a count, then thins. The seated passenger rolls her wrist toward the coach curtain as if pointing the way. She taps her own boarding pass with a nail. Premium only? She repeats, a little louder now, for row 2. The CEO does not move. She lifts her phone, opens a single contact, and speaks softly. Ops, tag, flight 218 to LAX. Add an audit note for a seating dispute at 1A. The timestamp is 8:06. I am present. She ends the call and returns the phone to her pocket. No sigh, no glare, only air. A man across the aisle murmurs, just check the manifest. The purser hesitates. She reaches for the scanner at the galley wall. It chirps once, then again. The screen shows the seat map with 1A in blue and a red banner that reads, Mismatch detected. Marcus swallows. The CEO waits. She does not fill the silence. Her eyes rest on the armrest where the paper boarding pass still sits. The ink crisp, the flight number visible to any camera. Row 2 leans forward. Someone whispers, this is not going to be good. The purser steps closer to the CEO. Mom, we appreciate your patience. For safety and balance, we may need to reseat you temporarily. She gestures toward 2A. The word safety hangs there. Heavy. The CEO nods once. Then please state your safety basis for the camera. And list the standard you are applying, she says. Log that language. Marcus looks at the purser. He looks at the tablet again. He tries to speak. He cannot. The seated passenger lets out a small laugh and covers it with a cough. She turns her chin toward the window and away from the boarding pass that does not match her name. A soft double chime cuts the moment. The intercom light above the galley glows. The cabin manager on the ground has pushed a message. The purser picks up her iPad. A profile card fills the screen and a line flashes at the top. Owner access pending. Marcus sees it over her shoulder. His eyebrows lift. He does not say it out loud. The CEO does not look at the screen. She speaks to the purser, still even. I am here for standards. The purser inhales. She glances at the woman in 1A. The aisle narrows as row 1 senses a shift. Phones tilt higher. The teenager in 2C whispers, there it is. Another chime. The gate speaker announces a short boarding hold for final verification. The business traveler in 1D folds his newspaper. The air changes the way it does right before a storm that never raises its voice. The CEO's attention returns to the paper pass. She lifts it, aligns it with the metal seat number, and waits without a stare down. No extra words. The weight of the process does the talking. 60 seconds later, the cabin will learn why the word policy only works when it is true. For now, everything is on record, the cameras are live, the system is awake, and the person in 1A is running out of places to hide. The boarding hold stretches. The woman in 1A shifts, plants her handbag on the empty armrest, and covers part of the seat number plate as if that settles it. She speaks to the purser, not to the black CEO. If she has an issue, she can take it up with customer service after we depart. I am settled. Marcus clears his throat. He keeps his eyes on the tablet. Manifest shows 1A assigned. He says, careful, like he is stepping onto thin ice. The purser gives him the smallest shake of the head. Thank you, Marcus. I will handle it. The purser turns back to the CEO. For weight and balance, we need to distribute evenly today. If you would be willing to accept 2A for takeoff, we can resolve this in the air. The phrase weight and balance lands like a stamped form. Row 2 murmurs again. A man in 3C whispers that this is a transcon. Weight and balance is set at the gate. The CEO looks at the open aisle, then the scanner, then the paper pass in her hand. Please log that you are moving a confirmed passenger out of 1A for weight and balance without a written directive. Include your employee number, she says. Calm. No edge. The seated passenger snorts soft enough for only row 1 to hear. She flicks her wrist at the CEO's paper pass. These things can be forged. I've seen it on social. The word forged ripples. Cameras lift a little higher. The frequent flyer in 1D shakes his head once. That is not how any of this works, he mutters to the armrest. A supervisor from the jet bridge steps in. Name tag Elena. She takes in the frozen aisle, the phones, the 2 boarding passes, the iPad in the purser's hand. Her voice is low. What is the discrepancy? The purser repeats the line about weight and balance and gestures at the CEO as if she were a late ad. Elena looks at Marcus. He holds her gaze for a second too long, then angles the tablet. Seat map 1. A blue, passenger name matching the paper pass. System timestamp, 8 minutes ago. Elena nods without commentary. The woman in 1A adds a new note. This cabin is for premium and invited guests only. We cannot just let anyone wander up because they think they belong here. The word invited sticks. Someone in row 2 says, wow, under their breath. Elena glances to the front galley where the intercom light still glows. Owner access pending. She blinks once. The CEO does not react to the word invited. She does not defend her resume. She places the paper pass on the center armrest again, squared to the seat number. I am requesting that you check the manifest, scan the seat, and verify the boarding record. Also, please inform security that no escalation is required. There is no safety issue here. Only a process issue. Her tone is classroom.com. The purser tries one more pass at authority. Mom, we can revoke boarding documents if there is suspected fraud. She puts out a hand toward the paper pass. The move is small but decisive. Marcus steps half forward. Elena says, hold. The purser freezes. Phones capture the frame. A hand over a boarding pass that is not hers. Elena takes the scanner herself and runs the CEO's pass. The chirp is clean. She scans the headrest badge for 1A. The iPad ties both together. The system displays a green check and an on-screen note. None of them have seen in person before. Owner profile verified. Elena has seen the pending tag, but the word verified changes the air. She looks up at the CEO. May I speak with you at the galley for 10 seconds? The CEO shakes her head once. Here is fine, she says. For the record, the supervisor nods. She turns to the purser. Document this as a seat denial to a confirmed passenger. It will need a report. The purser swallows. The woman in 1A straightens. Are you kidding me? She taps her handbag as if it were a badge. My husband and I have status. We are donors. The chorus in row 2 does not laugh. It just tilts phones. The CEO makes one more quiet call. Legal, flight 218. Please add my statement to the file and open a quality review for this base. Freeze discretionary upgrade privileges pending audit. Keep operations moving. She ends the call before anyone can reply. She does not look at the seated passenger. She does not look at the camera lenses. She looks at Elena. Marcus finally speaks at volume. For the record, 1A belongs to the passenger holding that paper pass. He says, voice steady now. I saw the mismatch flag when we tried to reseat her. The words for the record roll through the cabin like a soft wave. Elena nods. Thank you, Marcus. The intercom pings again. Gate holds for 2 more minutes. Then a second note. Cabin cleared to resolve onboard discrepancy. Elena squares her shoulders. Mom, to the woman in 1A. I am asking you to stand so we can complete boarding. This seat is not yours. The woman stares back. She does not stand. She says, get security. Elena does not move to the phone. She looks at the CEO. The CEO says one sentence. Finish that sentence. The aisle goes silent. The woman closes her mouth without finishing it. She reaches for her bag as if on reflex, then stops, hoping someone will rescue her with a new rule. The rescue does not come. The only thing coming is the audit. Elena does not call security. She taps the intercom and asks the captain for a brief cabin hold to resolve a seat denial. The reply is crisp through the speaker. You have 2 minutes. Resolve per manifest. The door stays open. The jet bridge remains in place. Boarding lane lights hold yellow. The woman in 1A clutches her handbag as if it were a document. She says she was pre-assigned by invitations. Elena keeps her eyes on the tablet. There is no invitation tied to 1A. Your boarding pass shows 3A. She turns the iPad so the camera in row 2 can catch the seat map. The woman does not look. She stares past the screen and speaks to the air. This is harassment. I know the director of the lounge. Marcus answers because the facts are already on record. Lounge access has no tie-to-seat assignment. Manifest governs. He stands a little straighter after he says it. He is no longer whispering. The purser tries a softer angle. We can offer you a travel credit and a glass of champagne in 3A. We are past departure time. Help us keep the schedule. The woman in 1A does not take the out. She says, call security again. She draws out the word again as if repetition will make it rule. The CEO does not step into the debate. She picks up her paper boarding pass and holds it level with the headrest number for a full second. Then she places it back on the armrest and says the same sentence as before. Log everything. She adds one clause. Include the refusal to comply with a seat verification. The intercom pings twice. A new message hits the crew iPad. Owner profile verified. Ops online. The purser reads the line without sound. Elena hears the flight deck crack the door and then close it again. She breathes once and makes the decision she is paid to make. Mom, stand please. This seat belongs to the passenger on the manifest. If you do not comply, I will remove you for failing crew instructions. The words are not a threat. They are a script with liability attached. Row 2 steadies. The teenager in 2C keeps his camera level but lowers it a hair. He already has what he needs. The frequent flyer in 1D looks at the aisle, ready to move if it clears. The woman in 1A does the math and finds only one number. She rises 2 inches and sinks back. She tries a last barrier. I will file a complaint. I will make a call. The CEO lifts her phone first. Ops, this is the owner. Freeze discretionary upgrade access for this station pending review. Flag today's flight for quality capture. Transfer the recordings to legal. Then she stops speaking. She does not look at the woman. She looks at Elena, who nods once and begins. Elena steps to the side so the aisle is clear. Marcus, document time of removal request and note refusal to comply. Marcus types, done. The purser opens the overhead. The woman does not move. Elena places a hand near the bag but does not touch it. Mom, please stand for reseating to 3A or deplaning. The woman stands because the sentence leaves no third option. As soon as she clears the seat, Elena slides the bag to the aisle and gestures to 1A with an open palm. The CEO does not sit yet. She waits for Elena to make the last verification. Elena scans the headrest badge, scans the boarding pass, and the iPad returns the green check. The sound is a small confirmation that fills the whole cabin. The CEO sits, she buckles, she folds the paper pass and tucks it inside the seat pocket. The woman in the aisle looks smaller now that she is standing, with nowhere to aim her words. She tries again. "We donate to your foundation. We are friends with your board." The sentence lands on a surface that does not accept that kind of currency. The CEO says it without volume. Standards are not for sale. The jet bridge supervisor appears at the door with a calm face and a handheld radio. Elena explains the receipt. The supervisor nods and points to row 3. The woman declines 3A and asks to deplane. The supervisor grants it. The path opens. She steps into the jet bridge without looking back. The cabin exhales without clapping. Phones lower. The purser recovers the tone she was hired for. "Thank you for your patience." Cabin crew prepare doors for departure. Marcus pauses, then looks to Elena. She gives him the smallest nod, the kind that says he did the right thing when the pressure was sideways. He straightens the shoulder of his jacket and moves through the checks. The CEO sends one last message before airplane mode. Legal, audit scope is bias training, seat denial flow, and intervention timing. Include recognition recommendation for Elena and Marcus. Hold any discipline until interviews are complete. She sets the phone down and watches the door light turn green. The captain comes on the PA with a routine welcome and a taxi time. It sounds like any other flight. That is the point. The fix was procedural, not theatrical. The cost will come later in systems and access and training hours where it belongs. Taxi feels longer than usual because everyone is measuring silence. The CEO does not change her posture. She checks the safety card like any other passenger. Marcus runs the cross-check with a steadier voice. Elena leans into the interphone, confirms doors armed, and gets a clear from the flight deck. Pushback begins. The cabin tilts and the city drifts past the window in lines and dots. At 10,000 feet, the chime releases devices. Screens blink on. The CEO opens her email, not to vent, but to trigger work. She forwards the flight record stub to legal, ops, HR, and training with a 6-line summary. Seat denial to confirmed passenger. Improper use of weight and balance language. Attempted confiscation of boarding document. Crowd capture present. Owner profile verification occurred. Action items follow. Freeze upgrade discretion at this station. Open bias standards review. Protect whistle inputs from retaliation. Elena starts first service and keeps her route tight. When she reaches 1A, she stops. "Thank you for your patience." She does not apologize for the system yet because the system still needs to write its report. The CEO nods once. She asks for water and nothing else. Elena brings it with a napkin and a pen for notes. The pen is not an accident. It invites documentation. Row 2 acts normal again, or tries to. The teenager, in 2C, watches the wing and edits a clip, muting faces, focusing on the intercom chime and the tablet screen that said owner access verified. He trims out names because he has been taught to. The frequent flyer in 1D reads the safety card front to back like it is a contract. In the galley, the purser keeps her hands moving. Cups, lids, ice. She does not avoid Elena, but she does not seek her either. After the first pass, Elena steps into the jump seat space with her and speaks in a level tone. You will document exactly as seen and heard, no adjectives. If you need me to review the phrasing for accuracy, ask. The purser nods without argument. She looks tired, not defiant. Consequences work better when they target the behavior and leave space for change. The CEO writes 3 names on the napkin. Marcus, Elena, gate supervisor. She adds a check next to each. Recognition pending. She types the same into her phone. The word pending appears twice. She deletes one. Precision matters when the system will read this later. Wi-Fi stabilizes. A response lands from legal. A template for quality capture lights up. Fields ask for timestamps, device angles, crew badge numbers, and the exact phrases used. The CEO fills the boxes without rhetoric. At the end, there is a free text space. She writes one sentence. Policy is a tool for safety and order, not a mask for preference. Then she stops. She does not attach the clip. She does not have to. The crew iPad already did. She sends a separate note to ops. Do not remove the purser mid-flight. Complete the trip. Start the audit when the door opens. Secure interviews within 24 hours while details are fresh. Pair with training rather than punishment where appropriate. The last clause is not soft. It is how standards get absorbed instead of dodged. Elena returns with a tray and whispers an update. Gate confirmed that the woman chose to deplane. No police, no incident code beyond seat denial. The record will reflect refusal to comply with crew instruction. The CEO nods. She asks one question. Did anyone coach the premium only line? Elena shakes her head. Not from me. It sounded learned. The phrase matters. Learned means the habit exists beyond one person. The CEO makes a note to sample other departures from the same base, random days and crews to check for the pattern. If premium only appears on recordings more than once, it is training debt, not attitude alone. Halfway to cruise, the captain stops by the galley. Off-duty voice. Everyone good? Elena says yes and no at once. We resolved it. We need support for the paperwork. The captain nods. He has seen versions of this before, but not with owner verification on screen. He asks if there will be discipline. Elena answers correctly. There will be a process. The CEO closes her eyes for a minute. Not sleep. A reset. When she opens them, she drafts a short note to the customer care team. If the deplaned passenger files a complaint, route it to legal and training with the incident number. Offer a standard acknowledgement. Do not debate facts in email. Invite a call at a later time with compliance present. This protects the people who answer phones for a living. She adds a final task. Update the seat denial checklist to remove vague phrases and require either a manifest conflict or a written safety directive. Add a step that asks whether any crew member has attempted to confiscate a document. If yes, stop and call a supervisor to the cabin before proceeding. The fix is not dramatic. It is a checkbox and a training slide and a line item in a briefing. That is how the next flight does not repeat the last 10 minutes. Elena makes a pass with the trash bag. Marcus follows with a smile that is small but real. The cabin has moved on. That is the goal. You build systems so people can move on without losing the lesson. Cruise smooths out, the seatbelt sign clicks off, and the cart hum shifts to a low rhythm. The CEO keeps her phone in airplane mode and uses the quiet to structure the follow-through. She opens notes and drafts 3 short checklists titled Ops, Training, and Compliance. Under Ops, she adds a reminder to preserve device logs from the jet bridge scanner and the cabin intercom. Under Training, she lists a module on seat verification scripting with real examples from today. Under Compliance, she writes a single line that will drive the work later. Correlate misuse of weight and balance language across the last 90 days. Elena stops by 1A with a status ping. Gate has uploaded the preliminary incident stub to the system. She sets a small envelope on the tray table. Inside is a printed receipt from the scanner showing the 1A verification and the timestamp. It is not necessary, but it is clean documentation, and clean documentation survives edits. The CEO slides it into the seat pocket with the folded boarding pass. Row 2 is calm again. The teenager in 2C sends his trimmed clip to a public email listed on the airline's website for reporting safety or service issues. He includes the flight number, the gate, and the minute mark of the intercom chime. He does not post it to social. He learned from his parent to send it to the people who can actually fix it. Marcus notices the email address on the teen's screen and nods once to himself. The system has an input it can use. In the galley, the purser writes the incident report in short clauses. She deletes a few adjectives on her own. Elena does not hover. She trusts the new tone will hold because the tone was set by facts in front of witnesses, not a private scolding. When the purser finishes, she asks Elena to read. Elena scans for accuracy and time order, suggests 2 small corrections, and sends it upstream. Wi-Fi pings as the aircraft crosses a coverage zone. Messages line up waiting for airplane mode to lift. The CEO will not send them yet. She wants one more piece of onboard data before she locks the record. She asks Elena a simple question at her next pass. Did anyone advise using the term invited guests in training? Elena answers clearly, no. It shows up when people try to sound firm without saying anything measurable. The CEO types 6 words under training, remove vague authority phrases and scripts. The captain calls Elena to the interphone. Dispatch would like a quick confirmation that the issue is resolved on board. Elena answers yes, passenger reseated by choice off the aircraft, no security intervention, cruise safe and compliant, manifest aligned. She asks dispatch to mark the station for a standards review. The captain backs the request. He adds that any inbound delays caused by documentation will be supported by the company. He understands the cost of doing the work now is less than a meltdown later. A new email slides into the queue for the CEO when she finally toggles Wi-Fi. It is from customer care forwarding a complaint from the deplaned passenger. The subject line claims discrimination. The body is short and emotional. It demands a call from someone in leadership. The CEO routes it to legal with the incident number and a single instruction. Acknowledge receipt. Offer a scheduled call with compliance and care on the line. Do not argue facts by email. She adds the scanner receipt and the iPad screen capture to the file. She writes a parallel note to the board liaison because transparency travels faster than rumor. Summary of event attached. We will treat this as a standards failure, not a PR incident. Expect an audit brief within 72 hours and a remediation plan with dates. Recognition recommendations for Elena and Marcus included. No names outside the company until interviews are complete. Elena circles back with service. She places a small card on the tray table. It is a crew feedback form with a QR code that routes internally to recognition, not to public reviews. The CEO scans it and types a short citation for Marcus and Elena by name, including the actions that mattered, kept to manifest, refused to escalate to security without cause, documented cleanly, accepted review. The cabin lights fade for a mid-flight rest. The CEO opens the safety card again, not because she needs it, but because it is the one piece of paper in reach that says exactly what will happen when things go wrong with no room for interpretation. She thinks about how to make the seat denial checklist read the same way. No soft words, no room for theater, just steps you can follow under pressure. Before she sleeps, she sets one more reminder to herself. When they land, meet the base manager at the gate and ask one question on record. What do your teams think premium means? The answer, recorded once and compared across crews, will tell her where to rebuild the language so the next person in 1A does not have to win an argument to sit down. The point is not the victory. It is the standard that makes the argument impossible. Descent starts with the soft ding and a vector change that everyone feels. The CEO wakes, closes the note on her phone, and slides the boarding pass receipt deeper into the seat pocket. Elena makes a last pass with water, checks belts, and gives Marcus a nod to start securing the galley. The captain announces a smooth arrival and a short taxi. Nothing in his voice hints at paperwork waiting at the gate. The CEO sends one message before airplane mode goes off for good. Ops, upon arrival, meet at the end of the jet bridge. Base manager, station training, lead, and compliance rep. 10 minutes on record. She adds the incident number and the 3 items she will ask for first. Device logs from the scanner, intercom message history, and a copy of the seat map snapshot taken in cabin. She closes the phone and looks outside as ground comes up fast. Touchdown is clean. Taxi is short. The chime frees belts and bodies. People stand. Phones light. The CEO stays seated until row 1 clears past her. She does not take the first steps out. Standards do not need a head start. At the door, Elena thanks her for patience in the same steady tone. Marcus stands a step back, eyes level. The CEO keeps it simple. You both kept to the manifest and to the script. I will note it. Elena says thank you without extra words. The purser holds the courtesy smile and makes eye contact just long enough to show she understands the process has moved beyond her. The jet bridge air is cooler. At the end of it waits a small group, base manager with a tablet, training lead with a binder, compliance rep with a legal pad, and the gate supervisor who handled the deplane. No cameras, no crowd. The CEO stops on the carpet line and speaks so everyone can hear. We will do this once cleanly. She starts with scope. We are reviewing a seat denial, misuse of weight and balance language, and an attempted document confiscation. We are not reviewing tone or personality. Keep to facts. The base manager opens a shared file on the tablet and mirrors it to a small screen on the counter. Timestamps populate columns. He uploads the scanner logs and the intercom history. The gate supervisor adds her notes and the code used for the deplane. The training lead lays out current scripts for seat verification and crew authority. The CEO points to a sentence that uses invited guests as a phrase. It is not in the official script. The training lead confirms the phrase is not authorized and has slipped into habit. The fix is straightforward. Remove free-form language, add a hard checkpoint that forces staff to say manifest or written safety directive, nothing in between. The training lead writes it down word for word. Compliance asks the CEO to restate the 3 directives she triggered in flight. She does. Exactly. Freeze discretionary upgrades at this station pending audit. Log the incident to legal, ops, and training. Terminate access temporarily for any employee who attempted to seize a document pending interviews. The rep repeats them back and adds a line about protecting the junior staff who reported facts. The CEO agrees. She looks at Marcus and Elena's names in the file and marks recognition recommended next to each. The base manager starts to defend the station's numbers, then stops. He shifts to what matters. We will need to pull last quarter's incidents tag to premium seating and compare the language used. The CEO nods once. Also, sample audio from other flights this week for that phrase. If it appears more than once, we correct at the system level, not one person at a time. The base manager types. Due by 72 hours. The purser approaches with her completed report. It is short. It lists each step and each quote. No adjectives. She hands it to compliance. The CEO takes a copy and sets it on the counter. You will complete the trip pairing, then step off the schedule for interview and recertification. Training will pair you with a mentor on your next rotation. It is a standard path. The purser nods. She looks relieved to hear a path at all. The teenager from 2C hovers at the edge of the group with a parent. He has already emailed the clip to the reporting inbox. The CEO thanks him for sending it to the right place and asks him not to post until the review is complete. He agrees. The parent nods. Compliance takes their contact for a consent form to use the footage internally. The CEO closes the loop in 10 minutes, the way she said. She reads the action list back to the group. Pull logs, update scripts, freeze privileges, schedule interviews, protect truth tellers, deliver an audit brief to the board liaison within 72 hours. She adds one last item. Add a rule to the station playbook that bars any attempt to confiscate a passenger document without security present, and a written directive. Everyone signs the note on the tablet. Before she leaves, she looks at Elena and Marcus. You kept the cabin safe and the record clean. Expect a formal recognition. It will be measured, not performative. Elena thanks her. Marcus just says, yes, ma'am, and means it. Out in the terminal, the world is moving like always. No one knows a policy almost became a weapon at Gate B17. That is the point. The fix didn't trend. It went into the system where it will change the next decision someone makes at a cramped doorway with a line behind them and a clock in their ear. By afternoon, the station office has a small conference room open and a clock on the wall. The CEO takes the end seat, places the folded boarding pass on the table, and opens a shared document. Legal dials in. Ups, joins. Training and compliance are already here. Elena and Marcus sit to one side at a second table, not in the hot seat, but where their notes can be heard. We start with the record. Scanner log shows 1A verified to the black CEO at 8:06 a.m. Intercom history shows owner profile verified at 8:09. Gate notes show voluntary deplane at 8:14. The base manager reads each item without color. Legal marks the timestamps and assigns the incident number to a case file. Next, language. Training pulls up the current seat verification script. It is tight around the manifest and safety directives. There is no line about invited guests or premium only. The CEO circles the gap that allowed the drift. Add a binary checkpoint, say manifest conflict, or say written safety directive. Anything else is not approved. Replace vague phrases with required lines on the iPad prompt so crews cannot freestyle when pressure rises. Training agrees to push an update within a week, with a quick brief out to all supervisors by morning. Ops confirms the freeze on discretionary upgrades at this station is live. The system denies any non-revenue seat moves until the audit ends. The CEO adds scope. Extend the freeze to partner lounge invitations granted at the gate. She explains why. People reach for soft perks when they do not have rules in hand. Remove soft perks until the rules are restated. Ops writes it into the action list. Compliance walks through the attempted document seizure. Policy prohibits removing boarding passes except for safety or law enforcement requests. The purser's report is accurate and brief. She attempted, then stopped when told to hold. The CEO sets the path. Terminate access to document handling for her pending recertification. Not a firing. A pause with a clear gate back in. The purser signs to acknowledge the terms. Her shoulders drop a fraction. Clarity is a relief even when it stings. The room turns to truth keepers. Marcus is first. He noted the mismatch, kept to manifest, and spoke on record. Elena is second. She resolved per script, chose not to escalate to security, and captured clean verification. The CEO reads 2 short recognition drafts and stamps them for HR routing. She adds one more instruction to compliance. Monitor both for any blowback. If any appears, escalate directly to me. Everyone understands that protection is part of standards. Legal briefs the complaint filed by the deplaned passenger. It alleges unfair treatment and references donation status. The CEO repeats the line she sent in the air. Do not argue facts by email. Offer a scheduled call with compliance and care. Provide the incident number, not the video. Let the process carry the weight. The base manager proposes a data pull. Last quarter incidents tagged to premium seating, cross-referenced with audio snippets where available, scored for vague authority phrases. He promises a quick first pass in 48 hours and a full readout by 72. The CEO nods once. Add a blind sample from 2 other stations so we can see whether this is a local habit or a network issue. She turns to communications last because there is no press call to make. Internally, a short standards note will go out under her name, not a victory lap. A reminder, policy is a tool, not a weapon. Seat verification is manifest or written safety only. Document handling requires supervision. Recognition for Elena and Marcus will be private and real, not a photo on the app. Externally, silence. This is not a story, it is a fix. Someone asks about training hours and budget. The CEO answers it straight. We will pay the hours. We will cut a minor project to make room. The cost of clarity is lower than the cost of chaos. Ops smiles because that sentence will make the memo write itself. She closes the meeting with 3 lines that everyone can repeat. Terminate improper access pending review. Freeze discretionary perks until scripts are clean. Log every step with times and names. Then she adds the 4th line that keeps the culture pointed forward. Promote the people who did the right thing when it was easy to look away. Outside the room, the terminal hums. Elena walks back to the concourse to start a turn. Marcus checks his schedule and sees a line hold for a quick standards debrief tomorrow. The purser gets an email from training with a clear path and a mentor assignment. She accepts before she can second guess it. The CEO heads to the curb with a small carry-on and no entourage. She answers one message from the board liaison. Brief in 72 hours confirmed. She sends a second message to the base manager. Ask 3 crews today the same question on record. What do you think premium means? She wants to read the answers side by side before the ink dries on any new script. At the car, she folds the boarding pass into a square and tucks it behind her phone case. Not as a trophy. As a reminder of the shape a rule makes when it is printed and clear and seen by everyone in the cabin. That little square is the difference between theater and standards. Morning brings the quiet part of the work. Interviews, logs, cross-checks. The base manager blocks a conference room and runs a rolling schedule. Compliance sits with a legal pad, microphone on the table, and a clock in easy view. Each person gets the same opening line, so the record is consistent. This is a fact-finding for a seat denial on Flight 218. We are capturing times, actions, and exact phrases. No speculation. Marcus goes first. He keeps it simple. He notes when he saw the mismatch banner, when he heard weight and balance used, and when he heard log everything. He does not volunteer opinions. He adds one detail that matters for training. The pressure spike came when the aisle got crowded. That is when vague phrases show up. Compliance underlines it. Training can build a cue card for that moment. Elena follows. She walks through choices in time order. She names the exact policies she leaned on. Manifest governs seat assignment. Crew instruction must be supported by a written safety basis if it overrides the manifest. She explains why she did not call security, threat level remained low, and escalation would have turned a process issue into a use of force problem. Legal rights friction avoided in the margin because downstream cost is part of the math. The purser arrives on time and stays on script. She admits the phrase premium only drifted in from habit and pressure. She owns the attempted document grab. She does not push blame. Training thanks her for candor and schedules her recert block with a mentor who has a reputation for calm cabins. The path back is clear. Observation ride. Quiz on seat verification steps. Sign off by supervisor operations. No shaming, no shortcuts. Ops pulls the last 90 days of notes for seat plus balance at the station. The query returns 5 entries where the phrase weight and balance appears without a directive ID. 2 involved reseating toward the front, not away from it, which makes the misuse obvious. The CEO reads the list and draws a box around pattern, not people. The fix will be a script change that forces a written code or blocks the language on the iPad altogether. By lunch, training has a draft prompt ready. When a crew member selects reseat for safety, the tablet now requires one of 2 inputs: manifest conflict or written safety directive ID. If neither is chosen, the action cannot be saved. A second screen suggests plain language the crew can say out loud. We have a manifest conflict with this seat and will verify. Or, we have a written safety directive for takeoff and will reseat temporarily. And here is the reference. Words that hold under a camera. The CEO reviews the text and trims anything that sounds like theater. She adds a final line to the on-screen guidance. Never seize or cover a passenger document. If you believe a document is fraudulent, call a supervisor and keep the item visible to the passenger and to cameras. It is unglamorous, it is airtight. In the afternoon, she runs a short town hall for the station teams. No slides, just 3 artifacts. The scanner receipt, a scrubbed screenshot of owner access verified, and a copy of the updated prompt. She keeps the talk under 10 minutes. Policy is a tool for safety. When a phrase gets used as a shortcut, it becomes a weapon. Our fix is not a speech. It is a checkbox, a script, and a supervisor within reach. Questions. A hand goes up about time pressure. She answers it plainly. The company will absorb the extra minutes. We will back you when you do it right, and it takes longer. Legal closes the day with a controlled call to the deplaned passenger. Compliance and care on the line. They acknowledge the complaint, share the incident number, and offer a follow-up after the audit brief is complete. No debate, no clips. The lane stays narrow. Before leaving the station, the CEO signs 2 recognition notes that will hit Elena and Marcus's internal profiles the next morning. Not a social post, a pay line, and a training opportunity. Then she sends 1 email to the board liaison with a bullet summary and a date, audit brief in 72 hours, remediation live in 7 days, station check in 30 days. The last sentence is the one she cares about most. The next person in 1A should never need to win an argument to sit down. The system should make the argument impossible. 72 hours later, the audit brief lands exactly when she promised. A glass room, a shared screen, 10 people who can change systems. The CEO opens 3 timelines side by side. What happened in the cabin, what the systems recorded, what people said. No soundtrack, just timestamps. She starts with facts that travel well. Scanner log tied 1A to the black CEO at 8:06 a.m. Intercom verified owner profile at 8:09, voluntary deplane at 8:14. 5 prior cases in 90 days used weight and balance with no directive ID. 2 moved passengers forward, not aft proof. The phrase had drifted from safety to convenience. The base manager reads the numbers out loud so they enter the record and the culture at the same time. Next is the fix, shown not told. On the iPad, the new prompt forces a binary, manifest conflict or written safety directive ID. If neither is selected, the receipt action will not save. A second screen gives plain words. We have a manifest conflict and will verify, or we have a written directive for takeoff. Here is the reference. The CEO points to a short line at the bottom. Never seize or cover a passenger document. Call a supervisor if fraud is suspected. Legal nods. Ops confirms the build is live at this station and queued to 2 more by end of week. She keeps the freeze in view. Discretionary upgrades and ad hoc lounge invites stay suspended until 3 checks clear. 100% recert on seat verification scripting for cabin leads. Spot audits show 0 vague authority phrases in 10 random flights, and complaint rate on premium cabins holds steady or drops for 30 days. The condition is measurable, not a feeling. People relax when the goal is a number. Recognition is next, because standards need heroes more than villains. Elena receives a standard citation and a paid slot to mentor other pursers on verification under pressure. Marcus gets purser in training on his next pairing, plus a bump for document discipline under load. The gate supervisor who managed the deplane earns a line in her file for clean resolution without security. The purser who reached for the boarding pass has her path written: observation ride, retake of the module, sign off by supervisor ops, return to line. Accountability without theater. Care briefs the complaint from the deplane passenger. They offered rebooking, a refund of the segment, and a scheduled call with compliance. No debate by email, no clips. If the passenger decides to post, the company will answer once with a neutral statement anchored to policy, not personalities, and will not litigate online. The board liaison is satisfied. The point is to keep the weight in the process where it belongs. The CEO adds one more decision most people will never see but will feel. Station language health moves from anecdote to a metric on the weekly dashboard. Percent of flights sampled with proper script usage, number of receipts with directive IDs, time to resolve manifest conflicts at the door. Green, yellow, red. No adjectives. If a base runs yellow for 2 weeks, training embeds for a cycle. If it goes red, the freeze returns automatically. Ops writes the trigger conditions into the memo. Union and employee council get 5 minutes. The CEO states it simply: this is about scripts and safety, not personalities. Training hours will be paid. Discipline is a path back, not a cliff. Representatives appreciate explicit guardrails and the protection clause for truth tellers. Compliance documents that protection in the case file so it outlives the room. She closes the brief with the line she wants repeated in halls and galleys, not just at tables. Policy is a tool for safety and order, not a mask for preference. Then she restates the 4 moves everyone can remember under pressure. Terminate improper access pending review. Freeze discretionary perks until scripts are clean. Log every step with times and names. Promote the people who kept to standards when it was loud. After the meeting, she sends a 2-paragraph internal note, station-wide. No victory laps, only artifacts. A scrubbed screenshot of the iPad prompt, the checklist update, and the recognition IDs. She schedules a shadow audit flight for next week, anonymous seat in row 2, stopwatch in pocket, nothing to prove except the system works without her name on a screen. That night, in a quiet office, she files the brief to the board portal and sets 3 reminders. Lift the freeze when conditions are met, sample audio again in 2 weeks, ship the module network-wide in 7 days. On her desk sits the same paper, boarding pass, edges soft from being handled. It isn't a trophy. It's a template black letters on white stock, a rule you can hold up to the light and see through. Tomorrow, someone else will sit in 1A, and no one will need a reveal to make it true. 7 days later, the changes start showing up where they matter in the minutes before a door closes. The updated prompt is live across 3 stations. When a crew taps reseat for safety, the iPad blocks the action until manifest conflict or written directive ID is selected. The gray area is gone. At the morning briefing, supervisors run a 2-minute drill. 1 mock manifest conflict, 1 mock directive with an ID. People practice saying the exact lines out loud. It sounds plain, that's the point. The black CEO flies in under her own name, but without the owner access tag lighting up screens. Row 2, aisle, quiet. She runs a shadow audit with a stopwatch and a checklist. At the jet bridge, a late passenger tries to slide into the premium lane with a vague, "I was upgraded in the app." The gate agent asks for the code, doesn't get one, and keeps the line moving. On board, a seat dispute at 2. A starts, spikes, and resolves in 90 seconds. The purser uses the new language word for word. We have a manifest conflict and will verify. Scanner chirp, green check, seat map on screen, no premium only, no weight and balance theater, no reach for documents. The CEO logs the time to resolution and a clean outcome. Passenger reseated by manifest, temp offered, no escalation. Back at the station, the freeze holds while data comes in. Ops posts the first dashboard with 3 boxes: script usage compliance, reseats with directive IDs, average resolve time at the door. Green, green, yellow. The yellow is time people are double checking. She replies with 1 sentence the teams can repeat to impatient travelers. "We're verifying the manifest for your safety. Thanks for your patience." Training adds it to the cue card. Elena's recognition hits her profile and her pay line. She gets a small bump and a mentor slot to coach other pursers on verification under pressure. Marcus reports to day 1 of purser in training. He runs drills on iPad prompts and role-plays document handling with new crew. He keeps the same sentence he said on board. For the record, and then the fact. It's now a habit, not a moment. The purser who reached for the boarding pass completes recertification steps on a tight clock. Observation ride, module retake, verbal check on policy, sign off by supervisor ops. She returns to line on a Friday afternoon with a paired mentor. There's no public shaming, just a reset with proof. Care closes the deplane passenger's complaint with a standard outcome: refund of the segment, note in the record, invitation to a call with compliance if they want to discuss the policy. No fight in email, no clips. The company's external line stays the same if the story appears online. We follow manifest or written safety directives. Documents remain with passengers. Crews are trained to resolve at the door. Compliance finishes the 90-day look back at the station and samples 2 others. Premium only appears 3 times across the network. Invited guests appears twice. Both are flagged and pushed into training with a hard remove. The freeze lifts at the original station after 30 days of clean samples and full recert for cabin leads. Trigger rules stay in place. Any return of vague phrases or missing directive IDs flips it back on automatically. The board liaison receives a 1-page follow-up. Metrics, trend, training status, recognition issued, complaint closed, policy texts updated. The CEO includes a simple addendum. Add a yearly audit on document handling and seat verification to the compliance calendar. No surprises next year. She takes 1 more flight a week later to watch without the stopwatch. Gate B17, again, different faces. A seat dispute at 1 C fizzles before it forms. The agent shows the seat map. The traveler nods and moves without heat. On board, Elena passes with the cart and keeps the same even tone. Marcus, in training stripes, corrects a junior quietly when the phrase "weight and balance" almost sneaks in. He points to the prompt, manifest or directive. The junior nods and repeats it back. As the plane levels, the CEO writes the line that will anchor the internal memo for the month. No one should need a reveal to be seated correctly. Standards make it automatic. She adds the 4 moves in the footer because people remember what they repeat. Terminate improper access pending review. Freeze discretionary perks until scripts are clean. Log every step with times and names. Promote the people who kept to standards when it was loud. She closes her notebook. The paper boarding pass from a week ago is still tucked behind her phone case, edges worn. Not a trophy, a template. The crew finishes service. The cabin is ordinary again. That is the success measure she cares about most. 30 days out, the change feels less like a memo and more like muscle memory. The dashboard turns routine, 3 green boxes across the top script, usage compliance, receipts with directive IDs, resolve time at the door. There are blips, then corrections, the way a good approach drifts and centers. The freeze lifted last week at the original station and stayed off. No one cheers, they just work. Training pushes the module network wide. Crews run scenario labs in a classroom that looks like a narrow-body aisle. A floor line marks the jet bridge. A laminated manifest sits on a stand. Instructors pair a junior with a senior and give them a clock. 90 seconds to resolve a conflict with plain words, visible artifacts, and no improvising. Manifest conflict or written directive. The iPad prompts block anything else. People learn to breathe before they speak and to put the boarding pass where a camera can see it without touching it. Ops adds an in-cabin aid that is not flashy but changes behavior. A small card lives in the jump seat pocket with the exact 2 phrases and a short reminder about document handling. If someone reaches for theater language, the card is a mirror they cannot ignore. Compliance adds a QR at the galley that routes to a simple form. Witnessed misuse of weight and balance or vague authority phrases. Yes or no, with an optional timestamp. Not a snitch line, a standards input. Elena's mentor sessions begin. She runs short workshops on verification under pressure. She does not teach charm, she teaches steps. Announce the check, show the seat map, scan the pass and the headrest. Speak the reason in plain English. If the aisle crowds and your heart climbs, slow the sentence, not the process. She brings Marcus to demonstrate how to say, for the record, without sounding like a threat. Crews leave with a script card and a pattern to reach for when the jet bridge breathes down their necks. The purser who once covered the boarding pass completes her recert with a clean ride. She shadow leads a turn, calls the steps accurately, and resists the old urge to fill the air. On the debrief, she names the moment the habit tried to return and what she did instead. She reached for the prompt and said the exact line, manifest conflict. We will verify. She passes. She takes an afternoon on unpaid time to watch a class where Elena teaches. No one announces it. It matters anyway. A week later, a station 3 time zones away gets a seat dispute on a busy Sunday morning. The old phrase rises in a junior's mouth and stops at the card by the jump seat. The purser watches the iPad force the directive ID and smiles because the system is now braver than the habit. 90 seconds later, green check, clean receipt, no grab at a wallet, no call for security over a process issue. Ops flags it as a model clip for training. The faces are blurred. The language is crisp. The board liaison gets a 2-paragraph follow-on with numbers that matter more than adjectives. Complaint rate in premium cabins down 21% month over month. Resolve time at the door averages 1 minute, 36 seconds. Receipts without directive IDs have dropped to 0 in sampled flights. There is a small uptick in minutes at the gate. The CEO notes it and writes the same sentence she has used since the first day. The company will absorb time spent getting it right. Union leadership checks the receipts. Training hours were paid. No one was made into a cautionary post. The protection clause held. Elena and Marcus saw no blowback. 2 other truth keepers at different stations submitted clean notes through the QR, and their supervisors thanked them in writing. The council sends a memo to members with a line that sounds like her voice even though she did not write it. Scripts protect you. Use them. She takes one more quiet flight and watches a tiny version of her story almost start and then evaporate in the space of a sentence. A gate agent says the line with no tremor. We have a manifest conflict and will verify. The traveler nods. The aisle keeps moving. Nothing goes viral. That is the point. Back at her desk, the paper boarding pass still sits under the phone case. Edges softer now. She slides it out, writes the date of the original incident in the corner, then tucks it away again. She drafts the monthly internal note. No slogans. 3 artifacts. The updated prompt screenshot. The jump seat card. The metric squares. She ends with a single paragraph that can survive screenshots and retelling. Policy is how we make strangers safe together. When it becomes a mask for preference, it fails. When we fix it with steps you can follow under pressure, it holds. The next person in 1A will sit without a reveal. That is the measure. Quarter's end arrives with the kind of paperwork that decides whether a fix becomes culture or just a story. The CEO schedules a joint review with ops, training, compliance, customer care, and the base managers from 3 stations. No press, no sizzle. The shared screen shows 4 tiles that now define the work: script usage, directive IDs, resolve time at the door, and complaint rate. Green, 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 and a small yellow for 1 station that just rolled the update last week. She does not scold the yellow. She assigns help. Compliance presents the language health sample from across the network. In 100 random flights, not a single receipt saved without a manifest conflict or a written directive. Vague phrases fell close to 0. 2 instances of invited guests were caught and corrected mid-sentence because the jump seat card and the iPad prompt did their job. The room absorbs the fact and moves on to the next layer: how to lock it so it stays. Training shows the updated module metrics: completion at 99% for cabin leads, 94% for juniors still on probation. The recert path for anyone who misses is automatic now. No manager heroics required. A short video plays in the corner. Faces blurred, audio intact. It captures the cadence the company wants to clone. We have a manifest conflict and will verify. A scan chirps, a green check. A brief thank you. The aisle opens. 90 seconds, start to finish, with no reach for a wallet and no call to security for a process issue. The video ends. No one claps. They just mark the time. Ops has numbers the board will care about. Gate on time percentage dipped 0.5 point in the first week, then recovered as crews adapted to the new prompt. Resolve time at the door stabilized at 90 to 100 seconds. Complaints tied to premium cabins are down 23% from the month before the incident. The CEO adds a note to the bottom of the slide deck: keep the extra seconds, they are cheaper than chaos. Care gives the closure on the deplaned passenger's complaint. Refund issued, call offered with compliance present, case closed without escalation. If it appears online, the company will respond once with the same line used internally: manifest or written directive. No document seizures. Crew trained to resolve at the door. Then silence. The policy speaks. The brand does not perform. The purser who reached for the boarding pass has completed her path back. Observation ride signed off. Verbal check passed. Mentor pairing done. She is assigned to a calm base for her next rotation, not as exile, but as support. Training notes her improvement in resisting filler language when the aisle compresses. The CEO reads the note and adds a simple instruction: follow up in 30 days. The work is real only if it lasts past the first clean ride. Recognition lands as promised. Elena's mentor calendar is full for the next quarter. Marcus's purser and training track includes a live scenario lab where he plays both roles: the calm verifier and the passenger who pushes with phrases that do not exist in the script. He keeps his phrase for the room when they practice under pressure, for the record, then the fact: it travels. Compliance proposes a yearly audit cycle that treats seat verification and document handling like emergency equipment checks, checklists, spot pulls, signatures. The CEO approves and adds 1 safeguard that makes the union nod: protection for truth keepers written into the audit protocol itself, not just case by case. If someone documents misuse in good faith, retaliation triggers an automatic review at the station level. The safeguard will outlive any single leader's memory. By afternoon, the board liaison has a 2-page summary in the portal. The first page is metrics. The second is the path that kept the story from becoming a spectacle. Terminate improper access pending review. Freeze discretionary perks until scripts are clean. Log every step with times and names. Promote the people who kept to standards when it was loud. The 4 lines have become the company's reflex. The CEO ends the day with a quiet round through the concourse. She pauses at a training room where a junior recites the line to an empty aisle: manifest conflict. We will verify. She watches a gate agent hold a passenger's boarding pass at eye level without touching it and gesture to the seat map instead of arguing. She hears a purser catch the first syllable of weight and balance, glance at the jump seat card, and choose the right sentence. No drama, just the sound of procedures doing their job. Back in her office, she files the quarter's closeout and adds 1 more line to the next month's agenda. Move the updated prompt and the jump seat card into partner stations by agreement, so a traveler sees the same behavior at the edge of the network. Consistency is how trust accumulates. She picks up the paper boarding pass, the edges now soft from being handled, and tucks it back behind her phone case. Not a trophy, a standard you can hold in your hand. Tomorrow there will be another Gate B17 somewhere, another crowd, another small pressure spike. The difference now is structural. The show has been replaced by steps. The aisle opens. The seat is occupied by the person it belongs to. No reveal required. A month later, the fix is invisible, the way good infrastructure disappears. Gate B17 rolls a morning departure with a small knot at the podium that never turns into a scene. The agent says the line plainly, "We have a manifest conflict and will verify." The scanner chirps, the seat map updates, the aisle never stalls, a traveler in row 2 sees none of it, he just sits down. The CEO walks the concourse without an entourage and listens for the old phrases. They don't surface. The jump seat cards are tucked where they belong. The iPad prompts block improvisation with a quiet insistence, manifest or directive. Pick one or you can't proceed. That choice has retrained 100 conversations without a single memo going viral. She stops by the station office. On the wall, the dashboard shows the 3 boxes that now govern tempo. Script usage, green. Directive IDs, green. Resolve time at the door, green, with a note that the average has settled at 95 seconds. There is a 4th tile now, added after the audit. Language, health. It tracks the presence of banned phrases and the reporting rate from the QR. Green, again, not perfect, just accountable. Elena passes the doorway on her way to a mentor session. The standard citation sits in her file, not on a break room poster. She teaches a short lab at noon. Announce the check, show the artifact, scan, speak the reason in plain English. Marcus arrives early for his purser in training block. He still starts with the same words when he demonstrates. For the record, then the fact. It travels better than a speech. The purser who reached for the boarding pass earlier in the month has a new rotation and a mentor. Her most recent ride earned a clean note. She caught herself when pressure rose and reached for the prompt, not for a shortcut. The path back worked because it was real, not punitive theater. Compliance schedules a quiet follow-up in 30 days and moves on. At headquarters, the quarterly memo goes out with no adjectives, just artifacts. Screenshot of the updated prompt, photo of the jump seat card, 3 plots moving the right direction. A 1-sentence footer repeats the 4 moves that took the heat out of the cabin and put it into the system where it belongs. Terminate improper access pending review. Freeze discretionary perks until scripts are clean. Log every step with times and names. Promote the people who kept to standards when it was loud. Customer care closes out the last thread from the deplaned passenger. Refund processed, policy explained, call offered, and declined. If a post appears online, the company responds once with the neutral line that matches the training. Manifest or written directive. No document seizures, crew trained to resolve at the door. Then silence. Procedure carries the weight. The base managers send back brief notes on the new audit cadence. Spot polls of intercom logs, random checks of scanner receipts, blind samples from 2 partner stations that adopted the prompt by agreement. The numbers hold. When a junior at a different airport almost says invited guests, the card in the jump seat catches it, the purser corrects in real time, and the QR records the save. The system is now coaching the moment faster than any manager could. On a Friday afternoon, the CEO meets with the board liaison in a glass room that overlooks another set of gates. They review 3 pages. Metrics, training status, incidents resolved without escalation. The liaison signs the closeout and adds a handwritten note the teams will appreciate. Keep the extra seconds at the door. They are cheaper than chaos. The sentence will appear in a supervisor briefing next week. She ends the day the same way she began the work, by refusing to turn standards into a performance. No internal sizzle video, no press pitch. She slides the paper boarding pass out from behind her phone case, writes the final date on its corner, and tucks it back. Not a trophy. A checklist you can hold. Then she sends one last instruction for the month. Add seat verification and document handling to the annual compliance calendar like emergency equipment checks. If it matters, check it on schedule, not after a headline. On the way out, she passes a gate where a seat dispute starts to form and dissolves in the space of a sentence. We have a manifest conflict and will verify. The traveler nods. The aisle keeps moving. No reveal required. That is the culture she came to build. Strangers safe together because the steps are clear, the words are plain, and the system does not bend to whoever speaks the loudest. If anyone asks what changed, the answer is boring and therefore durable. We made the rule visible. We blocked the shortcut. We gave people language that is held under a camera. We protected the ones who told the truth. We put recognition where it affects pay and training, not likes. And we wrote the trigger that brings the freeze back automatically if drift returns. The show ended. The standard remained. Back at the curb, bags rolling, she answers a final text from Ops. Numbers are still green. She replies with the only line she wants to hear repeated in every galley and gatehouse. Policy is a tool for safety and order, not a mask for preference. Then she pockets the phone and keeps walking. The work is not for a moment. It is the next uneventful boarding, and the next, and the next.